as you grow up the career ladder, your network is everything, because ultimately that's your reputation. You never know when you need to lean on them, but it's always really important to allow them to lean on you as well. I think it's really powerful when you've got a community.
Hello and welcome back to Future You, the podcast brought to you by graduate careers experts Prospects. I'm your host, Emily Slade, and in this episode, I chat to Amanda, who works in PR.
So I'm Amanda, and I am the head of brand and partnerships at a tech PR agency called Luminous PR.
Can you give us a brief overview of what it is that you do?
Yeah, of course. So I think when we initially spoke, I kind of stressed that I'm agency. So there is, obviously, you can be an in-house PR person. So yeah, my career spans 20 years, which makes me sound very old. Yeah, day to day. So my role in the last 2 years has gone very to the commercial side of the business. So that's supporting the CEO, Kirsty, and kind of helping her win new business, and also, getting partnerships with other marketing agencies and venture capitalist firms, etc. But day to day, it's a lot of marketing. So a lot of social media, a lot of, although I am probably the worst person for my own social media, but for the business is fine. It's getting the team involved. It's doing a lot of proposals. It's talking to a lot of people. Mm-hmm. So networking, I do networking quite a lot, predominantly in London, which is always quite nice for a little evening trip out. But prior to that, from a PR perspective, the day would look very different. So you would manage clients. You would have a variety of different clients that you would manage, and the whole objective is to kind of manage their brand reputation, that aligns with their business objectives in the media.
Mm-hmm. And these clients, are they in a particular industry, or could they be from any industry? Yeah,
so my background goes back to, my majority of my background is B2C, so business to consumer. But I've been at Luminous 5 years this month, actually, and they specialise in tech PR. So a lot of our clients are startups in the business, in the B2B space. So I have made that transition over to B2B PR, which is very exciting, and you can really see the difference that you're making.
Yeah. Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Amazing. So what inspired you to pursue PR in the first place?
So there was a number of things. I must admit, when I came out after my GCSEs, which I don't even think they're called GCSEs now, but when I was doing my GCSEs, I must admit I didn't really have a clue what I wanted to do. So I stayed on to sixth form and did some A-levels, one being business studies. And I really loved that. And I really loved this component, marketing. So I thought, right, let's explore this a bit further. So I went to university and did a marketing degree. And one of the modules of that was PR. And this agency owner came in and sold it to me like a very kind of rom-com. Like, you dress smart, you look smart, you went out and took clients for dinner, you took journalists for dinner, and I was just like, oh my God, this is so glamorous. I really want to do PR. And still to this day, journalists for me sit on such a pedestal. Like, they are like my celebrity in some sort of way, because they're so hard to reach. So when you finally make connections with them, you are very much like, oh my God, yes, I've done it. So that's how I sort of explored it. I finished university in 2005 and got a job at a local firm in Norfolk that sadly no longer exists. I did that for a couple of years as their sort of marketing and PR coordinator. And then that's when I went to agency, and the rest, they say, is history.
Yeah.
I've kind of worked my way up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That kind of answers my next question, which was, what does your educational journey look like? Have you ever done any sort of top-up courses or anything like that? Or has all of your knowledge come from working?
Yeah, I would say it was really difficult, because when I finished university, I must admit there was a bit of naivety in me that was like, well, businesses are going to want to, I've done a degree, so why would businesses not want me? And then you have that chicken and egg where it's like, well, where's your experience? And it's a bit like, well, I've been studying for 3 years. Yeah. It's really difficult. So it was a bit chicken and egg, but I was really, really lucky to get the first foot in, for sure. Mm-hmm. What was the question again? Sorry, I've literally forgotten.
How did you get that first foot in?
Yeah, so it was a lot of applying for jobs. I was, during my degree, an auxiliary person at HSBC, and I I must admit, after sort of 3 or 4 months looking for a PR role, I was a bit like, oh, I don't know if this is the role for me. So HSBC were really kind and wanted to put me on their graduate programme, which actually, on the day of me going to sign the documentation, I actually was offered the role that I then went on to do. So, so it's all kind of worked out for the better. But yeah, that's how I kind of got into it. And just talking to people, making sure that you're kind of getting seen and heard, I think.
Yeah. And do you think that looks different now than to what it looked like back in the mid-2000s?
Yeah. PR is different, you know. It's really evolved. When I first joined, social media wasn't a thing. And I remember an agency I worked at when Twitter first came out, or as it's known now, X. And, you know, it was like, what on earth is this, you know? Yeah, and there's no doubt it will evolve. It will continue to do so. Journalists are different as well. You know, there was a time when, you know, news desks, and I'm sure they are still busy, but, you know, they would all be in the London offices. And now the media landscape looks so different. There's so many more freelancers that work for different publications. They're not necessarily based in London anymore. They're working from home or, you know, working from, offices, shared office space. So it's a bit more difficult to kind of make those relationships as such. So yeah.
Yeah. What would your advice be on how to go about that in the modern landscape?
I think it's be persistent, but be persistent with the right messages, with the right stories. I think time and time again we hear from journalists, you know, they're being pitched things that they absolutely would not write about. And I think, you know, so it's really get a good understanding of, you know, who your target journalists are. So, for example, with Luminous, our speciality is tech PR. It doesn't necessarily always mean that we're writing to the tech the tech journalists. But what it does mean is that we have to, have a really good understanding of technology. So sometimes we work with academics that speak not a different language, but they speak different, you know, they speak in an academic way. But actually our job is to really articulate what they're trying to say and make it simple for the media to understand, because actually they're not the experts. They write about it, but they want to write about how it's going to make an impact on, say, businesses or on consumers. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, so the point that you are, sorry, that was a long-winded way of answering that. But yeah, is absolutely get to know your media, your target media especially. Get to know your regional media as well. EDP were really helpful at the start of my career, and they would allow me to sit in on a news briefing so I could understand the conversations they were having. They allowed me to shadow a couple of writers. So I think, you know, work with your regional media, because I think they've got to help you do your job, because ultimately you're going to help them do their job.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Coming off of that, what would you say the essential skills are that you need for a job in PR?
I wrote these down because I didn't want to. So I think there's 4 things. I think you have to be creative. So I think, you know, you have to have an element of where you can join dots, and you can, you know, it's great that somebody, you know, I'm trying to think of it, is launching a new business, but actually it's about, okay, you're launching a new business, but what impact is that going to have on the local community? What impact is it going to have on your customers? Why are you launching? What's the need? So I think it's about being creative with that. It's not just, you know, it's not as simple as just, you know, writing a story and hoping that it gets filled. The next thing I wrote down was hustle. I think it's really important that you can hustle. We get asked quite a lot in conversations, you know, how good do you know the media? And the answer back to that is, well, actually, the media, like I've said earlier, are moving around all the time. So actually, how good is your sales pitch? How good are you at hustling and getting known? Journalists often say, like, they get 500 pictures a day in their inbox, which is quite a considerable amount. So in order to stand out, how can you say what you want to say in a subject header and the first couple of lines? And so it's really about knowing how to pitch, I think, not assuming that people know who your client is as well. I think that's one of the key things. Another is being strategic. There are brands that I think get coverage for the sake of getting coverage sometimes, and it's more of an ego boost. And actually, when you use PR strategically, it can really help sort of empower your business objectives. It can help you meet them a bit quicker, and obviously it can help your reputation. And then the fourth is resilience, because the reality is you will be pitching, you will be ghosted. It sometimes can feel a bit, and clients sometimes, I'm very lucky, I've had very nice clients, but there have been one or two, shall we say, that have made me feel like I'm not good at my job. And and actually I think 20 years in the industry, I think I can safely say that I kind of know what I'm doing. And sometimes it's just being able to pick yourself up, dust yourself off again, and just know what you're doing is, why you're doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you develop these skills?
Oh, wow. Honestly, I think resilience, I would say I can still improve, I think. It's really disheartening when you believe that you have a story that actually could work for particular publications or even mainstream publications, and no one's listening. But it's all about sort of going back and thinking, well, why maybe is my pitch not resonating? Back in the day when I was, a wee young lady, I would be on the phone to these journalists, but journalists don't pick up the phone anymore. So it's really important that your emails or, that your direct message to them through LinkedIn or something is really going to resonate. So yeah, it's about, I guess it's just constantly asking myself why to build up the resilience. Creative, I'd say I've always been quite creative. I like to put fun into things. I like to make things simple. I don't think you have to make it hard for people. So it's like, how can you, tell a story where it's really simple to understand? The hustle. I love people, and I think I'm very comfortable in front of people, not on stage, but I'm very comfortable with people in a networking scenario. So it's listening. It's being able to listen, and then being able to sort of join the dots and being like, right, I can see where this could fit in. Yeah.
So what's your favourite campaign to date that you've worked on?
Oh, there are so many. And honestly, I was thinking about this the other day, and I was thinking, oh my God, like, what have I been working on that I'm really proud of? There's some, earlier in my career, I did some amazing campaigns for local organisations in Norfolk. So Royal Norfolk Show, I did the press office for them for numerous years, which was real fun. And we got to work with, local celebrity Jake Humphrey because he was president one year. And we got Country File, Adam Henson. They were such highlights, as a 25-year-old, and being able to, talk to these people and, wow. Bernard Matthews also, I did a campaign for way back at one of my first agencies, and one of their ambassadors was Marco Pierre White. So we got to do this amazing, this is when bloggers first came on board. Wow. And we did this whole mummy blogger workshop where Marco Pierre White cooked a roast dinner, or cooked a turkey, shall I say, to teach these, lovely women how to cook the perfect turkey for Christmas. It was really weird. It was done in July, and it was amazing. But all these women were swooning over, they were loving him. So that was obviously a real highlight. A couple of years ago, I launched the Ivy Brasserie in Cambridge, which then led me to launch it in Norwich as well. So that was quite nice. Recently, because like my line of clients have differed slightly, we do work with a lot more startups, so that's been a good education for me in terms of their pain points. And one of my biggest highlights is working with a tech organisation. They were a 3D body avatar platform. So if you, for example, were online shopping, this platform would be integrated into, say, the likes of ASOS or whatever. And what it would allow you to do is take a photo of your front and a photo of your side, and it would create this body avatar. So when you're clicking on clothes, you can see how they fit.
Oh, wow.
Which is great. So from a sustainability point of view, cutting back returns and things, amazing. So we launched them back in November 2019 possibly, because then COVID hit. And then back in March, we did this when the first lockdown was lifting, which was June, July, I think. Yeah. We did this little bit of consumer research to identify how consumers felt about going back into the high street. How would they feel about touching an item of clothing that maybe had been touched before by somebody else? And what we identified was that 1/5 of UK consumers were not going to return to high street. So actually, when you link that to an economy angle, when you link that to the high street is dying, as the headlines say. So when you start to add all this up together, you've got quite a powerful story. So we went out with this story and it made nationals, which was great. And it got our client really recognised. And what happened over the course of 6 months was they got acquired. So within 12 months, we launched them and they got acquired. One of the co-founders is being a photographer and living his best life, doing wildlife photography, which is amazing. And the other has set up his own another business. And it's a bit bittersweet because we lost them as a client because obviously they've, done their thing. But on the flip side, you see the impact that really good, powerful PR can do.
Yeah. Oh, incredible.
Yeah. That's a bit of a long-winded
No, it's
example.
great. So are there any myths about PR that you would like to
I had fun with this yesterday with the team because I was like, guys, what myths shall we do? What myths shall we get rid of? I think the first one is it's easy. I think people think PR. I don't think AbFab, the BBC comedy, did a lot for our career, to be fair, because they made it look very glamorous and, all you did was get drunk and drink champagne and stuff. It's hard. I think from an educational perspective, in that people don't understand what PR is. Which, for anyone listening, it's all about brand reputation and manage that in the in the external faces like media. It is hard. You have you get knocked back a lot. You get ghosted a lot. You have clients that think they are right, which, they know their brand better than anyone else, but actually they're not the PR experts. And sometimes you do have to have that conversation where it's like, you've hired me for a reason, you've hired me for a reason, like I would hire you to do a job because I don't know, I don't have the skills or I'm not comfortable or don't know. So I would say, it's a lot harder than it kind of looks. I saw an amazing LinkedIn post literally yesterday that said, this lady, she's a PR, and it said, I always wanted to be a journalist, and for the last 15 years it's been amazing to have my pieces in the media but not be credited for them, because actually what tends to happen is we write the press releases or we write the thought leadership articles and then a journalist credits them. And so it's we're quite a hidden quite a hidden what is it? We're just magical. We're magical. And then I think also it's a short-term solution. It really frustrates me when clients are like, or people come to us and say, I just need this, or I want to be on the front page of the FT, for example. I've heard that numerous times. And my answer back to them is why? Why do you want to be on the front page of the FT? The reality is the Financial Times, they feature the FTSE 500 businesses or, rather large brands that we all know and familiar with. If you're a startup, you're going to want to be in Sifted, which is FT's startup publication. And that's where investors go. That's where other startups are reading, so people can get a better idea of your business. The reality is, the media are not going to write commercially about your organisation. They're going to write about how your organisation might have an opinion about something or how it's potentially impacting a certain industry, but they're not going to write about the benefits of how you'd save a customer X amount of time or whatever. So short-term solution, I would say, is a bit of a myth, because actually it's about the long term. It's about how is your brand seen over time? How does it evolve? What messages is it portraying? What benefits can it do? And that's not something you can do overnight. It's not social media, I think, is another one. It's not social media. It's a part of it. There's a line at the moment, well, I'll say at the moment, but there's a digital PR and then there's PR.
Right.
And I think I've been a digital PR manager, and it felt, digital PR is all about the link building, but journalists are really cottoning on to have the commercial value of a link. So actually, Google, from an SEO perspective, still very much values brands that are talking, that are included in high authority articles and stuff. So brand awareness is absolutely key. But yeah, it's not social media. I would say I can write a LinkedIn post. I can write what do you call a tweet nowadays? X?
Oh God,
an
I
X
don't know.
tweet, whatever. You can write a post like that. I can do all that. But actually, when it comes to the creative, so like your skills of editing a video, I absolutely would be like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of like leave it to the experts. The final one is it's so much more than a press release. And I think, I have numerous conversations daily and everyone's like, oh, I just want to get this press release out. And 9 times out of 10, what they want the press release to be about is not newsworthy. So it's, there's so many tactics PR can cover, such as reacting to mainstream news. So we call that newsjacking, award entries, which are amazing, thought leadership, which is much more sort of opinion based, but it's kind of those 800-word articles that you see in a lot of the trade publications. It can be numerous things. So it's not just a press release.
No, that's so interesting because I think it is one of those jobs that people might not actually know or have an idea about because of things like AbFab.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, brilliant. You just go and drink at lunchtime and then go home.
Don't come back to the office, nothing. Yeah.
Fantastic. So it's interesting to know that actually, and you're balancing all of these different clients and you have to, carve out time throughout the week for all the, there's a lot going on there.
There is a lot, yeah. And I think it's, I still think there's a whole education that needs to be made around PR because done right, done strategically and done when it's aligned with every other element in a business. So what we sometimes see is, the sales team are going off and saying one thing, the marketing team might be doing this campaign, and then the PR is going off saying this. So actually it's about aligning. If you know what your business objectives are, then actually if you've got your PR aligned with that and you've got your sales team aligned with that, then actually you can become really powerful because at every exit point of your business, you're all saying the same thing.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah.
Do you think it will become social media more, or do you think there will always be room for traditional?
I think there's a place. I think media is changing. So I think the mainstream media, like the dailies, I think there's a place. There's a place for them. There's a place for broadcast. There's a place for, trade publications for sure. I think the way we digest media and I think the way we digest news is different and will evolve. I think the whole thing around the fake news, at the moment is quite terrifying that, anybody can say anything. I think there's certainly a place. I think it will remain a place in my lifetime. I don't think it will change, I say that too much more, but, in 20 years we've had so much more. I think video will be a big part of it. And I think that's definitely something I probably need to upskill myself on in terms of being able to, maybe craft a piece of editorial to, supplement a pitch or something. But yeah, I think it's, I think there's still very much a need of it. I think it just the way it's consumed is different.
Yeah. So we've debunked the myths, but is there something about your job that people outside of it might find surprising?
Oh, yes. What it can do for businesses. I think I touched on it a moment ago, but I really do think that PR can do wonders. And I've seen it do wonders, particularly more from a B2B perspective. And, just it can really help build authority. It can really help build your credibility as a brand, as a spokesperson for that brand as well. From a consumer perspective, I mean, if you've got X amount of influencers saying, this is amazing, that's an amazing endorsement. So rather, there's one of my colleagues was literally talking about this morning, where we were talking about the myths actually, and she was saying, there's that saying where if somebody says they're good at playing football, that's a marketing message. But if somebody says, oh my God, that person is a superstar at football, that's really good PR. So it's like, it's the difference. So yeah, I think PR, I just think the impact it can have on businesses is amazing.
Yeah.
Or brands, I should say.
So I guess finally, what lessons have you learned in your career that others could benefit from?
It's really important to listen. It's really important to listen. I look back on my former self, my 20-year-old self, and I was so ambitious. And I wanted the manager titles and I wanted the director titles. And I do recall my boss, who I was one of my first agencies, when he promoted me, my next question would be, and how do I get to the next? And he'd be like, I hate promoting you because you're just not taking your time to learn. And so I would definitely say listening and learning from your peers. I think they're crucial. They've definitely been crucial in my learning, for sure. Listen. In addition to the peers, I would say listen to your network. There'll always be individuals that are the same kind of hierarchy as you. You might not know them, but I definitely think there's benefit in reaching out to them and being like, hey, let's go for a coffee or whatever, just to understand, how they're learning, what they're getting out of their roles. Because actually it might be that you can do something a little bit different, or they can learn from you. Your network will be, as you grow up the career ladder, your network is everything, because ultimately that's your reputation. That's that's you never know when you need to lean on them, but it's always really important to allow them to lean on you as well. It's really powerful when you have a community around you, for sure. And be realistic. I think I definitely, like I say, probably had very unrealistic expectations, and maybe thought, every Hollywood rom-com, I have realised this, they're either in advertising PR, aren't they? And so I've definitely realised that is not, the truth. I mean, it is lovely having the handbags and the high heels. The reality is I can't walk in high heels, and I need a rucksack for my laptop and stuff. So I think, it's just being realistic and just, listening.
Yeah, brilliant.
Well, actually, can I add one more?
Of course.
And I just wanted to say the lessons as well is knowing the media. So know the media that you're, be familiar with them. You don't have to read them page to page. You don't have to scroll, from what am I trying to say? You don't have to scroll from the top to the bottom. You don't have to scroll from the top to the bottom, but there is definitely benefit in having a good understanding of the media and what they're writing about.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. Yay.